In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to, explaining blueprints and looking at how to set them up, set up some inputs, which are basically the controls for your game. So you should have access to this file when you're in the class. It's already preset with some flipbook set up inside the file system. So here we've got Goblin, got the idle and the walk set up. So from here, what we need to do is we need to have a look at the inputs. So to access them, go to settings, project settings, and then you'll start off like this. And on the right, you want to scroll down to engine and then input. Here, you'll start off like this. So what we need to look at is these bindings. So what we have here is your action mappings, which are basically any button that is pressed or unpressed. So you got to think of, say, a jump where you press the space bar or up. That will cause that animation to play, or that flipbook. Or you could have this as an attack, that sort of thing. So something that's going to be pressed to cause an animation to play, not affected by movement. So the movement will be controlled by the axis mapping. So here we've got move right. So you'll only have move right, you'll just have that in a positive or negative for whether it should move right or left. As you can see here, if you were to press the A key or the left key, you go minus, and the right or the D key, you go positive. And obviously if it wasn't being pressed at all, either way, you would get an idle animation, which would be then causing this to be 0, which is really important to understand that it's either going to be, this axis mapping is going to be something that's either going to be 0, positive 1, or negative 1. I think of it also as sort of a joystick. There's always going to be giving some sort of value, whether that's 1, a negative 1, or a 0. So at the moment, we just want to leave that for now. You can add more later on for things like attacks, but we'll look at that in the future. We just want to know where these are and that you've got this set up as is for now. So you can close that. So the next thing to look at is the blueprints. So blueprints are preset, pre-written pieces of code. So you don't have to write any code. These are already pre-created and they're plug and play. You connect them up and this will create the code for your game, if you will. You don't need to actually code anything. So to access them, I'm just going to right click on your content browser. Remember the content browser is down here. Right click, we've got blueprint class. So we're just going to click on there. It's going to give us some options. Now at the moment there's a lot of options and a lot of them we're not going to be touching, especially not at the moment. So we specifically want the paper character. So the best way to do this is to search. So we go to the search bar, search paper character, and it's under actor, pawn, character, paper character. So if you tried to go through this system, it would have took forever. So it's preset there. We just click on that, press select. And you want to name this, so we're going to call this Goblin character. We double click on this. We now get a screen where we can start to edit the character setup. So on the left here, we've got the capsule component, which is basically the collision cylinder. And this can be changed over here on the right on the shape. So we can change the height, the width and things, so we can change how that looks. Got the arrow component, which is this, telling which direction the character should be looking. So at the moment it's looking right. Yeah, it's looking right, which is all fine. And then the sprite. So this is inherited from one of the sprites or flipbooks. So we're going to use a flipbook. Now we've already got some pre-set up. So we're going to use the idle in here. So it's Goblin idle. So you can see this is too small for the Goblin at the moment. The Goblin's way too big compared to the actual size of it. So we're going to go to here where it says perspective and just change that to front and change wireframe to lit. Okay, not front. Let's try it's the wrong way. Right. So right's the camera we're looking at in this one. So you can see this capsule is too small. So we go back to the capsule component. Have we made the height bigger? So we want it to be around the same height as it's going to be. The width as well. So then what we can do, actually select the character, move that more into the capsule, go back to the capsule, actually want our character to be a bit bigger over, go back to the capsule, just make that a bit wider, gets its hearing, stuff like that. That's pretty good. You're probably going to have to play it what best you think. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think something like that will work. So therefore we've got all working. So we go to save, just close this. We then should be able to down a little bit. So you see how this character's got the arrow pointing that way. Our character should do the same. So what we're going to do, we're just going to pull them in. Remember, make sure this is on 0 on the location. Make sure it's on level. Now we can see this character's quite big. I'm going to pull him up. I'm going to lock here and just scale it right down. Let's pull him down and across. Again, might make it a bit smaller than that. But the same size as that character. So this character can now be deleted for now. So this is our character, if you will. Now, if you press play at the moment, it's going to add that old character. But you can see the collision's working. You just need to start setting up it so the character is controlled, but the character is working with a collision box and everything's working in that sense. So we're going to leave it there for now, and we'll move on in the next video to setting up the actual blueprint code so that you can set up the controls.